So thanks so much for being here. Today I'm talking with Christina and I'm so excited. Christina Nguyen is a second generation integrative medicine practitioner, a licensed acupuncturist and herbalist who specializes in traditional Chinese medicine, women's health, infertility, cosmetic acupuncture, and pain management, as well as mental health. She's an absolute rock star. And I have to give a little personal note here, Christina, because we've known each other for a while now.
Oh my God.
And you were there for me on my fertility journey. This was back
Hmm.
like 2017. I was trying
Yeah.
for my first baby, and you were right there with me for all the ups and downs because I went to see you as my acupuncturist. And I ended up working with you at the same clinic for 3 years, and we got to be close. And it was such a treasure having you on my team, like both personally and professionally.
It was
So
so
you'll
fun
always
because you
have
were a
a
patient and a practitioner. So we were talking shop, but then we were also like checking in with each other. So it was so nice.
It was so
Now you've
fun.
got
And
your
that was
little
part of my
family.
journey. Like this is when I really got into it. This was like my genesis even of getting into women's health and fertility while going through my own journey. So you were definitely an important part of that. So I just wanted to give
Oh,
you a shout out there.
yay. I think you were
Um,
literally on the table and you were telling me, I think I want to do this for a living. I think I want to pivot. And I was like, yeah, you'd be great at it. Anyone who goes through the experience knows so much of it from a very personal level that I think it's so important for patients to know that.
it's so true. Yeah. Some of us have a passion just otherwise, but most of us, we go through the personal experience and we see that there's a need to do more with it. And that was absolutely my experience.
I love that.
But today I so appreciate you talking with me about your personal experience with egg freezing because I feel like you have such an interesting perspective on this because you've been working with women on fertility and hormonal health and things through functional medicine and acupuncture for a while now. And now you decided to freeze your eggs and have gone through the experience. And I really appreciate you sharing your experience with us. That's so unique.
Yeah, it was. I've been in the game for 15 years, Miranda. Isn't that crazy? So I was like
Exciting.
calculating, I was like counting down. I was like, oh, I wonder how many years I've been doing this, but it's been so long that I almost forgot that at some point when I was working with like reproductive endo, it was like all the front office and the embryologist would be like, Christina, can we donate your eggs? I was like 26. So they kept asking me, hey, just donate them. They'll pay you $10,000 for your eggs. And I was
Mhm.
like, at the time, I was like, no way, I don't need this. And then now, fast forward, I'm 35. And I woke up one day and was like, actually, I need this. But you
Yeah.
don't realize like how much time goes by in between the time that you are realizing these things and then having it come to fruition and saying, okay, I think energetically, emotionally, and then physically, this is where I'm in alignment doing this type of process for myself.
Yeah.
Because I think you can help people for most of it and then realize that, wait, actually, I might need the help a little bit myself too, which is very
Yeah.
humbling and vulnerable to admit, but
Yeah.
also scary, even though I'm a practitioner.
Absolutely. And what was it that shifted your mindset or triggered you to think, oh, wait, this is something I actually want to do now?
Gosh, that is such a loaded question, but in a good way. I think I spent a lot of time really like deconstructing it and just like really digging deep. I think for the longest time I was okay just helping people get pregnant because I was always okay being like the cheerleader, being the person that like supported my patients. And I truly found so much joy just from helping, right? Like I think seeing my patients achieve the family that they want, feeling their emotions when they're on the table, like being such an empath myself, it was really beautiful. And so for a long time, I think 10 years, I was like, this is it. I go to work every day. I'm happy. Obviously, we had our highs and lows. It's like not everyone gets pregnant the first time. Not everything is beautiful and sunshine and rainbows. But I think I was like down for the highs and the lows with my patients. And then I
Mhm.
think at some point I was talking to some friends and I was like, my friends started getting pregnant. I'm 35. So my friends started getting pregnant like around their like late 20s, early 30s. And I was like, okay, being fun auntie. At some point, I was with friends who also had like a crew of little ones. Like they were all like one under one. And I was hanging out with a guy that I was dating, and all his like friends and family had little ones. And at some point, I was looking at them and I was like, they're cute. And I think I always knew subjectively they were cute, but now objectively, I was like, hold up, like I think they're really cute. And I was like, I don't know what future Christina wants. I think she'd be a good mom. Like, I think she'd be cool. And so I woke up one day and I was never the type that would talk about freezing my eggs or wanting kids. You remember this. I'd just be like, no, I'm good. Like, I'll help you forever. It's fine. That's my life purpose. And then one day I literally just woke up and people talk about like the ovaries just like kicking in and like turning on. I was
Mhm.
like, That's not, I'm exempt. There's something, I'm not drinking the magic water that's in the fertility water that I give to my patients. And then I woke up one day and was like, oh shit, y'all weren't joking about this.
You're like, I know how it feels now.
And I was like, oh my God, look at this squishy baby. And then so I just woke up and I literally called, I think I called Tasha and Dr. Hatch's office because I've known them for probably the whole entire time that I've been practicing. They were like my OG reproductive endos. And I was like, Tasha, help me. I can't believe it's happening to me. And she literally was like, hey, I'm going to book you in. Come on in. We're going to do a consult. Dr. Hatch was like, all right, we're doing this. And so it was just very proactive. And luckily I had so many tools. I had so many people that were in my camp that I already knew. And so they were like literally my cell phone. So I just called them and they were cracking up. They're like, finally, we were waiting. And I just was like, I know, but I didn't think it would. I didn't know what happened to me. And so now, fast forward, I did the whole process and it's been a really humbling journey, but also just so good to know what every woman goes through in the fertility journey, like whether it's like freezing their eggs, whether it's doing IVF, whether it's getting pregnant, whether it's miscarrying, all the little stages, there's so much of it that you can connect with.
Yeah. Yeah. All these little tidbits that you don't know until you experience it. Like you don't really know until.
I don't know and you can read everything in textbook, which is what I did. So I was like, textbook, this is what's going to happen to you during this follicular ovulation luteal. These are the meds. And then when you experience it yourself, you're like, hold up. They didn't tell me about this. They didn't tell me about that. So it's very different.
Yeah, a lot of nuance. Can you walk us through? Because I think a lot of people don't even really understand what egg freezing is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Entails. If you don't mind, like walking through that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I guess we talk about it like it's just like drinking water. We're like, oh, you order the tea. I froze my eggs. Cool. But for us, I think egg freezing is a process in which you go in manually, I guess is the word, and you put medication into your body that stimulate your eggs to produce or your ovaries to produce X amount of eggs. And I equate it to like harvesting grapes, right? That's probably the best way to describe it. Like we've got these little eggs. It's like wine, right? Like we want them to grow and create something, right? We want it to create wine. We want to create a baby. And so there's certain medications that you have to put in, just like fertilizer for the wine and the eggs and the grapes. And so you take your Follistim, your Menopur, whatever medications or fertilizer, and you put that into your body. And then as those grapes or follicles start growing, at some point it's harvesting season. You're like, okay, like how much do we want? What size do we want them to be? And the proper reproductive endocrinologist paired with the right acupuncturist will really set you up for success in the sense of getting your body to produce the ideal amount, but then also to not have like too many symptoms where your body's like freaking out. And then also to get the best quality, right, as well too. So it's a lot of it is the doctor getting the right medication for you so that you can optimize your chances of getting these eggs, but then also like your job, taking care of your body from the best point of view, like eating the right foods, taking the right supplements, doing the acupuncture to get as much egg support, egg quality to these like follicles. And then basically once you do the egg freezing process, what they do is you've got X amount of follicles and you go in and you literally harvest them and take them and put them in a petri dish. Some people will put them on ice like I did. So I've got 10 little follicles just hanging out in the freezer right now. And then other people will make these follicles into embryos. That's the second part of the IVF process. So I always tell people like, wherever you're at, it's generally a 2-part process. It's like the egg freezing or just the egg harvesting process. And then there's the transfer process where you make embryos and you put them back into your body to get pregnant. I did the first half.
Yeah. And that's something that I know from my personal experience. I remember hearing about IVF and thinking, oh, it's this one thing. And really, like you said, in such a great analogy, that it's 2 parts. It's one is let's grow as many eggs as we can within reason. And usually it's that dialing of like, the more we dial the meds up, the more eggs we might get, but we could get overstimulated and maybe have less, like lower quality, dial it back for better quality usually.
Yeah.
And then, retrieving those and then implanting them in one way or another, as far as like you said, fertilizing them with the sperm to get an embryo or
it's so crazy because like I really explain to patients, it's almost like you do want a lot, but you don't want so much that it's almost like premature, right? Or like overly mature. So think of just grapes for wine, right? You want them at the right for them to make good wine. You don't want too much, it's sour, or then it's too sweet. And then it doesn't end up being perfect the way you want it to be.
Yeah. Great analogy. I love that.
I spent a lot of time thinking about this.
Yeah.
And then when I explained it, everyone's like, oh, it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But one of my friends, she actually thought that you literally just take meds and it's like a 2 day process and you wake up and they just go in and take it. And she's
Mhm.
like, I didn't know you had to go in to be monitored. And I didn't know you had to go in. And it was like a long, drawn out thing. She literally just thought you just take a pill and ta-da. I was like, no, girl, it's longer than that.
Yeah. Again, I mean, I've talked with a lot of different patients who are maybe like thinking about it, going through it, and either egg freezing or IVF. And it really, we just don't know what it entails. Especially nowadays. I love that egg freezing is talked about a lot more nowadays.
Yeah.
But again, it's
Yeah.
like thrown around. And I think most people don't actually know what it entails. And
They don't know the process. They
yeah.
know the name now, I think, because reality TV shows, things like that. A lot of celebrities are doing it, right? The Kardashians did it. So it's really popular in that sense. But I think when you break it down step by step, that's when people's minds get blown
Mhm.
because they are so shocked at the heaviness of the process itself and what it means emotionally and physically for the patient.
From your perspective, again, being familiar with it beforehand and now going through it, what's your takeaway feeling on it? Like, how was the process for you?
First of all, I think women are badasses like through and through. I think our bodies can endure so much. We can be stretched and pushed and pulled, and we still bounce back and we're like, all right, we're doing this. And we still show up to work and we still show our best. It's impressive. But I will say that I think the process really was humbling because I think I knew it in theory. And I think I always knew it from an outsider perspective. I didn't think the mental and emotional toll would be that hard on me. Very foolishly, of course, right? Thinking that, oh, like I'm above the emotional toll because I see this all the time. But I was still human, right? At the end of the day, when I was putting on weight, doing these injections, I was like, hold on, I don't like the way I feel right now. Even the emotional piece of being like, wow, I'm doing this by myself. I'm not holding anyone's hand through this process. I remember the doctors asking me, like, are you injecting yourself? And I was like, yeah, isn't that like what people do? And they said, no, usually it's someone that you're partnered with that's doing it for you.
Mhm.
And in my head, I was like, wow, like I'm not the only one who's injecting myself by myself
Wow.
for my future that I don't really know. So I
Mhm.
think that is where the egg freezing process is really fascinating because it comes from so many angles. There's the patient that is single and wants to do this, and she's preserving this for her future that she doesn't know. There's someone that's like with someone and is doing this for their future that they are like hoping for. And
Mhm.
then there's the person that's married with another kid and hoping for this third round or fourth or fifth baby that they like want to complete their family. So for
Yeah.
me, what I realized was I was the tier one. I was like doing this by myself, for myself, and for a future that I don't know. But I think in it, it made me realize that, you know what? Like, if I can do this, I can do almost anything.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
And you can, for sure. You
Yeah.
are a badass.
Thanks. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it, like when
Uh,
you're injecting yourself and doing all the things and you're hormonal. But I was super
Hormones are no joke.
strong.
The medications are no joke. I haven't even gone through all of those, but I remember even just like the simple estrogen and progesterone.
Yes.
Like you said, you're putting on weight, you're super emotional.
Yeah.
And add on top of that, yeah, you're like gearing up for this procedure then that you're going to be doing alone. Like I can only imagine.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
it's funny because even when men are like in the picture and they're helping, you still are doing it. It's still
Mhm.
your body, right? It's not
Yeah.
someone else's body. And that's where, even in a relationship, it's still very isolating. So I think that's why it's so important to have good support. I had my acupuncture team. I had myself as an acupuncturist. I had my reproductive endo. I had my like mom patients who like literally I would come in and talk to them and they'd be like, you got this, girl. Like they were holding my hand while I was acupuncturing them. And I was like, look at my stomach.
Gosh.
And they were like, one of them was like, I did this 5 times to get my baby, and look at my baby. Like, I would do it 10 more times for this baby.
Yeah.
I
I
was
love
like,
that.
wow, like the resilience in women is pretty impressive.
Yeah. And I love that you had that community because I feel like community is so important. Because, like you
Yeah.
said, it absolutely is isolating.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate with the fertility world, even when we're not dealing with infertility, it's something that's not widely talked about. It's not taboo, but it's just still like flies
Feel a
under the
little
radar.
uncomfortable. Like, it makes people
Yeah.
feel a little bit like, oh, why is she talking about this right now? Or shouldn't you be
Yeah.
talking about this with your girls, like in private?
Yeah. It's like
But
personal.
yes,
Yet so
yes,
many of us deal with fertility issues nowadays or want to do what you did and preserve your fertility.
yeah.
So,
I
yeah,
had so
you
many
need
girls
community. You
message
need people who
me.
understand.
Yeah, I had so many girls message me and they were like, I've been thinking about doing this for so long. And I finally have thought about it and looked into it because I saw your story.
Awesome.
And I was like, good, like you should be looking to it. She said, I know, but I didn't know anyone that did it. I just thought it was so far off for me. And then I had other people who were like, that's so brave that you were talking about your fertility. And I was like, y'all talk about what you drink every night. Like when you guys go out to the club, like, why can't I talk about my eggs and my future?
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally. That's even more important than anything,
exactly.
I think. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
these are
Well, I think
conversations
it's
that need to
awesome.
be had.
Absolutely. And I think that's great that you can, yeah, have that voice to speak to it in a very educated way and experienced way now,
Absolutely.
and be that reflection for other people who are maybe thinking about it. And
Yeah.
like you said, you hadn't thought it when you're 20s. You were like, that's not
Oh my
me.
God.
And so you
No.
can show
Yeah.
the perspective of maybe think about it before you really need it, but
It's
also
probably like
being
insurance.
able to educate so people are prepared
Yes.
for the process.
Yes, I feel like now looking back, I think in my 20s, I was so gung ho on not doing it because I was like, oh, like I don't need it. But now I look at it like insurance. You don't really need insurance for your car. But in theory, if you get hit by something, like you're going to need it. So,
Mhm.
like, it's just like this backup. One of my patients was actually telling me, she was like, for my daughter's birthday, when she turns 21, I want to get her an egg freezing cycle for
Mm.
her birthday. And I was like, that's kind of genius because
Yeah.
at 21, you have really good quality eggs, but you
Mhm.
also are not thinking about any of this stuff. And who knows in 10 years? Like she might be a CEO of a company that, you know, isn't like really, like she's busy. She doesn't have the time. But then maybe when she's like 40, she might want to.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was
I love that.
like, oh, mom,
And
you're
that's something that I wanted to ask you about.
yeah.
Talking about it like an insurance policy, like after going through it, do you still feel like that is insurance
Yeah.
policy? Like that's kind of how you're like seeing and feeling it.
I think the reason why I didn't do it for so long was because of that egg freezing versus embryo freezing. The
Mhm.
thaw rate in the defrost rate is not as good. So everyone always suggests if you can defrost embryos and create embryos, it's better than eggs. So when I was in my 20s, I was like, why would I spend money on this process that doesn't even guarantee, right? That you would get babies at the end of it. But then I thought, but then now that I'm older, obviously, because like things can change in 10 years, right? I was like, yeah, but you would still pay for that 10, 15, 20, 30, 40% at the end of the day if you couldn't have kids because that's what people are paying for, that differential, right? And so now looking back, I think what I would educate my girls on, and if I would like, if I stood on a platform and try to explain to my my younger self, I would probably say you should look into taking care of your body the best that you can and
Mhm.
do this knowing that you are putting your fertility on like investment. It's like you're investing in your fertility. You're putting $10 a day, hoping that maybe 5, 10 years, like you don't know what's going to happen, but in 10 years, that fertility investment might pay off. And
Mhm.
that's what I would say looking back
But
at my younger self.
I completely agree that it's something that we don't think about, but it's something that we can preserve by taking good care of ourselves. And again, it's an unfortunate thing that infertility issues are more prevalent than ever. On
Mhm.
the flip side of that, people are talking about it a little bit more and
Yeah.
people are more aware of it. Like I have so many patients who come to me and are like, I just want to check in with my fertility because I'm not sure. Like I have a friend or my sister is struggling with fertility and I'm concerned because maybe they're in even their
Yeah.
20s, but they're like, I don't have a partner. I don't have any plan yet. I want to make sure I'm not in a rush.
Yeah.
And so I agree, taking care of ourselves from the start as early as we can, as early as we can check into
I,
this.
I call it like the like you go in for a teeth cleaning to know how
Mhm.
many cavities you've got. Why don't you go in and check your eggs? Like I was talking to Dr. Hatch, like one of our reproductive endos, and she was like, yeah, it's like literally going in and checking your eggs once a year and being like, hey, how are you guys doing in there? You good? Like we got 10, we got 20. So it gives you like a rough outline of
Mhm.
like future planning.
Yeah.
Not like 100%, but it gives you still something to go off of and to be very aware about.
Yeah. And if something's going wrong, then you can check in. So I'll have a lot of patients who are having premature egg issue or premature
Yeah.
egg aging issues,
Yeah, or
basically.
low ovarian reserve at very young.
Exactly.
And can you
And
explain what low
sometimes,
ovarian reserve is? Because not everyone knows what that is.
yeah. So, we have, like you mentioned, we have these eggs that grow and we have a finite number of the primordial eggs, which are like the early
The
follicles.
OG. Yeah, the OG eggs.
Exactly. And these are subject to damage that happens to our body, to our cells and everything. And what can happen is we can have a lower ovarian reserve is basically we're low in those numbers. The thought of running out of eggs, basically, it's probably not exactly that simple, but basically we're running out prematurely or they're being damaged a lot faster than they should be. So in the case of like premature ovarian insufficiency, which is the current term for it, to diminished ovarian reserve, basically I think the predominant thought is that those eggs are aging faster, and it's almost like you're going through menopause early because you're running out of those eggs sooner, and it can be devastating. Like
Yeah.
I've had several patients with this, and it can come out of nowhere. If you haven't been checking in on your health and your fertility, it can come out of
Yeah.
nowhere, and
Yeah.
it can be devastating because all of a sudden you're in menopause, and if you're already completely out of eggs, or that's what it seems like, you're already in menopause, the chances of then conceiving are really challenging. Luckily, I mean, like people can get egg donations and things like that. Like you still can get pregnant, but it's like a very challenging position to be in. And so I agree. If you can check, if earlier on you can catch that and know
Yeah.
what's going on and freeze eggs at that point, where then you could have your own biological child in the future, it can be life changing, or
Yeah.
do something
What would you
about it
say?
to slow down the rate of aging. So, yeah.
Yeah. What would you say like the youngest patient you had going through that was? Because for mine, I think my youngest patient was like 25, 26.
I think mine was like 26 or 27.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like around there. And I was like,
Yeah.
I was shook because that is very young
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be
And
with
I
stuff.
agree. It was like shocking to me also, my first patient who was like so evident with this. It was shocking because she was like, I'm a little bit tired and I don't know. She really didn't know what her normal was. She was so
Mm,
used to just feeling terrible.
yeah.
And we checked her numbers, and her thyroid was a mess. Her hormone levels were just bottomed out,
Yeah.
completely bottomed out. And I was like, oh my goodness, there's
Yeah.
really, yeah, it's devastating and shocking
I
to us.
think the thing is that also what I've noticed is that women are just okay feeling shitty for a long period of time. So I had patients who have low iron of 5, like 3 to 5. And it's what's the height, like what's the range again? I always forget, but it's like 0 is like you're gonna pass out and you're almost like
Yeah, you said
not
ferritin.
functional. Yes.
Yeah, ferritin I like to see 70 to 100,
Yes. So
honestly.
she had,
So
I
yeah,
think, a base level 5, another patient had
yeah,
level 3. And they were
yeah.
like, I just thought this is normal being tired. And I had to really pull it in. I was like, this is not a normal tired, but you have been able to operate at such a high functioning, low level of
Mhm.
energy. This is sustainable for you. It's
Yeah.
not,
Yeah. Said
no.
women can be pulled and stretched and still keep going on. And there's a
Yeah.
downside to it too, where sometimes
Yeah.
where it's like
It's
things
a detriment.
are not good and we're still
Mhm.
just like pushing through. And so checking in with ourselves too is really important.
Really important. Yeah. And so that's why I think it's been really fascinating because from a practitioner standpoint, like I could diagnose myself in theory, but then me as a patient was very different than what my advice was telling me.
Mhm.
Luckily, I started really early on taking prenatals, CoQ10, things like that, since I was probably in my like late 20s, because I just was in the field and I was like, I like nice hair and I like good skin. And of course, prenatals have a little extra oomph. So I always tell my patients, I'm like, if you're a girl, just take it. Like it doesn't hurt,
Yeah.
unless of course, like you're really sensitive to certain B vitamins. You just have to be mindful of which one you take.
Yeah.
But then luckily I had that already. But even supplementally, like what would you suggest a patient like take just to eat like a basic bottom line for fertility? What would you have them from a functional medicine standpoint take?
Yeah. So I like to customize it to the patient when I
Yeah.
can.
Yes.
But yeah, at the least, I agree. A prenatal where you're covering your bases, you're getting good quality B vitamins and things like that.
Absolutely.
And omega-3 is
Mhm.
pretty much a given for everyone.
Yeah.
Vitamin D, iron, like
Mhm.
checking those levels, like you said, and just making sure they're good. And if not, supplementing with those if you need them. CoQ10 is a great one, of course.
Yeah.
And other like antioxidants in general, there are a lot out there that are really good for egg quality and things like that. But my go-to are usually like alpha lipoic acid,
Mhm.
L-carnitine.
I like NAC.
Yeah, NAC is awesome. Yeah, or glutathione or
Yeah.
both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I was going to ask you too. So you were taking things that were preparing for egg quality
Oh my
early
gosh.
on, which is amazing. Did you
Yes.
do anything else specifically for preparing for?
Yeah, I was cracking up because I was telling my patients, I'm like, dude, I do give you guys a lot of stuff. And like I knew that it was a lot,
Mhm.
but with antioxidants, if you really think about it, it's stuff that you would eat in food, right? So of course I was like eating acai and like acai berry and like doing all my organic fruits and veggies. But I also just know that when you're working 9 to 5, like realistically speaking, you can only meal prep and eat so much food in a day. So you're not
Mhm.
burying all of it. So I really went hard on my antioxidants, which is kind of what we listed. I definitely did a fish oil, I did a prenatal. I did a lot of just overall like exercising, limiting my alcohol intake to like zero almost. My sugar was like still, I try to do a lot more fruits and veggies, just
Mhm.
eating a lot of gluten-free, dairy-free if I could. And
Mhm.
I think for me with acupuncture, I doubled down because of course I can do it every day. So that's what I did. But most of my patients, I tell them if you can, once or twice a week is the dream, right? Because
Mhm.
you want to get as much blood flow to the uterus as possible into the eggs, because that's what you're trying to pour the medication onto, right? To grow.
Mhm.
And so for me, I was like, you know what? Like I did all the things. So I even did like exercise. Like I would walk every single day, 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night. And I would really limit. What I was shocked about actually was how much your hormone health affects your workouts. And I knew this in theory, of course, because I tell my patients I
Mhm.
practice it myself, cycle syncing, things like that. But I didn't realize like the level in which the hormones really just bottom you out. I would pick up a 40-pound weight, no problem. When I was doing like squats and things, I was like, no problem. I picked up maybe 15 pounds and was like, this is going to kill me. And I just knew, I was like, wow, my body just doesn't like it and it doesn't want it. And so I had to really adjust my body to what I was taking and
Mhm.
giving myself grace and being like, you know what, girl, you're not doing it today. That's okay. We're going to do
Yeah.
something else. And you are creating life in a different way. I felt
Yeah.
like a chicken with these eggs and I was like hanging around with these 10 little babies.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Especially those levels of hormones. Cause yeah, like through our cycles naturally, we have this little like variation in what our
Yes.
body is doing and everything. But to an extreme, that is the case when you're on the
Hormone.
medications and hormones. So I can only imagine. Yeah.
Oh my
So that's
God.
great.
Did you notice with patients, and just for this is just for me, because my body loves estrogen. I love it. Like I
Mhm.
love my follicular phase. My skin looks good. I was at my prime high functioning. I felt like I had the glass of extra coffee, and I don't even touch coffee. And it was just the estradiol patches. I think I was at like 0.1, so very tiny. And this is something that some reproductive endos will do just to like level out your hormones and support your egg quality so then all your follicles are symmetrical, right? Because when you retrieve them, you don't want them to be like 50, like huge, like 25 millimeters and then two. You want them all to be relatively the same size. So they put me on a little bit of estrogen and my body loved it. So I don't know if that's a good thing, bad thing, but have you noticed with your patients that's like really different or?
Yeah, I think I agree. Most of us, our bodies like estrogen, and it's a great hormone. It's
Yeah,
so important for a lot of things.
yeah,
But it's interesting to me because it gets a bad rap nowadays. And a lot of people
yeah.
come to me like, oh,
Everyone's
I'm
like
estrogen
estrogen
dominant.
dominant.
Yeah,
That's
you turn an estrogen
really
dominant.
yes.
And we talk about it and we're like, what does that actually mean? A lot of
Mhm.
the time, it actually means you're progesterone deficient
Yes.
or
Yes.
you're in an imbalance, like your body thinks that your hormones are high because of endocrine disruptors or chemicals in your system that are messing
So
with
it's
your
like making
hormones.
more. It's like trying to balance out.
Yeah, and so it isn't just a healthy level of estrogen that's causing the problem, it's this imbalance and other
Mhm.
things. So yeah, so I agree. And yeah, a
Yeah.
good amount of progesterone. Usually a lot of us don't feel necessarily like amazing with supplementing with progesterone, but when our
I'm
own
not,
body
that's
is
not
producing
me.
enough progesterone,
Yeah.
yeah, same. I struggle.
Progesterone is like my least. I'm like, I know we need it, but if I never had to have, I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same. But it's like creating this balance. And so if
Mhm.
there's a healthy amount,
Yeah.
then it's good and it's doing
Everything
it.
in our body is just levers and scales, right? Like when it comes down to it, like it really is just trying to find that like perfect, like nothing's gonna be perfect forever, of course, but it's like just making sure that if you can get within that range, then you're a happy girl. And you know when you feel it. Because I
Yeah.
had patients, they would stop me in the middle of treatment. They're like, your skin looks so good today. And I'd be like, estrogen patches, baby.
Yep. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
And then they'd be like, oh, you're so glowy. I'm like, yep, that's what it does. So it's funny.
I love it. Yeah. And just again, to have that experience where you can then speak to that with your patients and kind of experiment, like you said, with yourself. It's so interesting to have
Yeah.
that.
It was fun. And I think that going forward with acupuncture and functional medicine, I think it's so important to do both and to really get your blood work in order and to make sure that you've got all these tests done prior to even getting started. Like I'm telling my patients now when they first start trying, I'm like, why don't you just go get checked and knock all the tests out first before you even really start trying? Because why not? Don't you want everything in balance before you start trying? Because what's the worst that could happen? Like if you are imbalanced and you get pregnant, God forbid anything happens. Luckily, we have the tools to be like, hey, let's order a prescription of progesterone, text my doctor if I need it. Like, why not have that? And then if you're already imbalanced, then you can do things to support yourself.
Totally. Yeah. In a perfect world, preconception health it's so important.
Yeah. Yeah.
to even get repleted in all the nutrients we're deficient in. When we're in our teens and 20s, we are not taking good care of ourselves.
Like
So being
I would
able to
eat
get
ramen
better
and
health
Korean barbecue every
before,
day.
yeah.
Yes. I was a bad, unhealthy acupuncturist. And you were doing like CrossFit. Like I remember when you came in, you were doing CrossFit like hardcore.
Yeah. And I would do CrossFit like a few times a week.
Yeah.
And I was in residency and I was
Yes.
stressed out maximally. And I would do hot yoga. And I was like in the yoga classes being like, what are all the tricks I can do and everything? And I literally thought I was the healthiest of my life. I was like, I am so healthy. I was like so focused on a healthy diet. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, in retrospect, I'm like, my body was so stressed out. And it was like masked by birth control. And I came off birth control and it was like, my
I
body was like,
remember.
nope, reproduction is not happening. We are stressed out.
I
So
remember
it took
that.
a lot of time and like a lot of my experience was it probably could have gone faster, but it was my learning experience too to know, oh, yeah, I'm doing too much. This isn't like my body doesn't need or all of this. And
Yeah.
it really, I'm so grateful for it now because it showed me this big gap in conventional medicine in women's health. There are no solutions for women, basically. There are very
Yeah.
few solutions for
Yeah.
women until there's a big issue. And then we're like going to
SOS. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so yeah, being able to push me into this world and see, oh,
Yeah.
this is how we can do things better and have a collaborative team with an
Mhm.
acupuncturist, doing functional medicine, doing the early testing like we're talking about. And
Mhm.
we can support women so much better and have a better experience ourselves too. We just feel so much better supported.
Yeah, because that stuff matters, right? And it's almost like what I've noticed too is that like our generation of women is that we want to do it all, right? And the reality is that you should not be doing it all. That's
Mhm.
unrealistic. You can't. And I think it's almost like driving your car at 100 miles per hour every single day
Yeah.
without tune-ups. And that's what we're doing. But we're like, look, we have abs. We're doing 6 Pilates classes and like CrossFit and then eating this like Erewhon protein shake that's 200 calories. And I'm like, girl, like this is not it for your
Yeah.
body.
Yeah. It's funny because it's feminism nowadays. It's like
Yes.
became this thing like we can do it the same thing that men can do.
Yeah.
And it's great, but it turned into women trying to be masculine
Yeah.
and treat themselves like, no, we're the same all the time. I can be as productive all the time. And I think what needs to happen and was maybe is starting to happen is that we're shifting toward the true feminine of we're cyclical and we're
Yes.
not the same every day. And that's
Yep.
where our power lies. Like
Yes.
we
Oh,
won't
yeah.
show up the same every day, but we can rest and hibernate in one phase and then come back in the other phase better than men, in my
Mhm.
opinion, and be able to do more and have a different, and it doesn't have to be that, yeah, driving at
Yeah.
100 miles an hour every single
And
day.
that's where I ask my patients, like, they all know. But besides, hey, how are you? The second thing I'm asking is, where are you at in your cycle? It's one that, like, even indicates if the needles hurt more, if you're more sensitive, if you're more emotional, if you have more energy, if you can sleep or not. Like, sometimes if you're in your follicular phase, you have so much estrogen, you're like amped and ready to go. So I'm like, I'm going to support you during that energy phase, right? And if you're luteal, then you're tired, you're maxed out. And so you're probably going to want to sleep. And so I'm like, I'm going to put you in this room or the sleepy time room, right? And to learn it off, so you just have to know. But I live and die by my cycles. And I think when you don't have regular cycles, that's also when it's really hard. Like patients with PCOS,
Mhm.
thyroid issues, things that are just so out of the box abnormal, like endometriosis, like your cycles are irregular. And it can be so frustrating for patients because
Mhm.
then they don't know their own alarm clock in their body. And they're
Mhm.
like, when am I ovulating? When am I not? Like, what is happening to my body? And I
Yeah.
think that's the part that makes it tricky.
Yeah, definitely tricky. And definitely like even more so those women need the right support then to tune in
Yeah,
and have more like more data and more information to then be able to
absolutely.
tune in. But what I see, what's awesome is that even though it's trickier for them,
Mhm.
they have so much more information and feedback like from their body when things are going right and they're
Yes.
moving in the right direction because things tend to start to
Yeah.
normalize and
Yeah.
they do have more clear signs and they're like,
Yes.
oh, okay. And so we almost have a bigger barometer. So even though it's harder, it's also we have such
Once
good
things
feedback.
shift, though, oh, my period came. Like that's a very clear indicator
Yeah.
of things working, right? So that is so true. I had a PCOS patient who literally was like, I haven't had my period in 3 years. And we did 2 treatments and her period started. She was like, oh,
I love
it's
it.
working. And I was like, yeah, like your body is starting to connect. And from an acupuncture standpoint, too, you forget that sometimes your body is trying to signal to your brain to do these things, right? But
Mhm.
you don't make time for the connection. So when
Mhm.
you're in this space of like even slowing down, whether it's through meditation, acupuncture, mindfulness, going to a doctor's appointment, right? You're signaling your brain and you're telling your brain, hey, pay attention to me. I think this
Mhm.
is really important. And then your brain's like, oh yeah, okay, let's start sending some support to like where it needs to go.
Yeah,
It's really
totally.
important.
And that's one thing that I love about acupuncture, like you mentioned, it's addressing so many different things all at
Yeah.
once.
Yeah.
Like in the simplest way, it's even just giving you a nap or a rest time, which most of
Yeah.
us don't give ourselves. And like that, just addressing our nervous system and then
Absolutely.
actually, yeah, stimulating that blood flow and getting things in better balance. It's
Absolutely.
such an awesome tool. Yeah.
Yeah. My patients will sit there and they're like, where's my phone? And I'm like, you don't get to scroll today. Put that away. Like you are just laying there. And you'd
Yeah.
be shocked the first two or three treatments, everyone's almost losing their minds because they don't have their devices. And we're adults, right? We can regulate ourselves. So imagine children who are so addicted to this already. And it's just this need to constantly be doing or moving or occupying space. It's like you need to chill. Like you need to turn it off. You need to turn off the noise. You need to really go inwards and just really realign with yourself.
Yeah. Just tune in with your body and
Yeah.
calm down your mind. Even when people like, when it comes to mindfulness, people are always struggling. I can't turn my brain off. I can't meditate. I'm so bad at it. And just tune into
Mhm.
your body. Let your mind run. It's
Yeah.
fine. Just
Yeah.
being present. Yeah. That's
And then at
powerful.
some point your body talks to your brain, right? So it's like the two
Mhm.
are they're besties, but sometimes they hate each other. So it just you have to really convince them to like to hang out.
Totally. I love
So it's
that.
good. I know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I just really appreciate you, Miranda, and just all I've been sending you so many of my patients for years too, and they love you. So they're always like, I love Dr. Naylor. I'm like, I know, isn't she the best?
And same, same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me. This was so much fun. And I would love to ask, and we probably cover this, but what would be then your one takeaway that you want to share with people? I guess on any subject, but maybe especially around
Yeah.
like freezing in your experience with that.
I think my one takeaway is to be really proactive about your health. And I know it sounds like such a general, broad thing to say, but I think it's really important to be your own advocate because no one's going to sit around and tell you what to do, right? No one's going to tell you to do an OB appointment. No one's going to tell you to check your follicles and until it's game time. And then by then it's late. Like you should be prepping for this much earlier. And I think I mean that on a physical and emotional and spiritual level, right? Like you should be checking in with yourselves. You should be asking yourselves, like, hey, like, how does my body feel today? And if it doesn't feel right, go get it looked at, whether it's going to an OB appointment, going to a reproductive, going to a therapist, whatever it is that you need. I think being proactive about that will really help in the long run versus like hitting those like road bumps much later on. And you are now dealing with things at face value versus when you preemptively prepared for it. That's what I would tell most of my patients and my younger self, I think. So
Mhm.
I always look at my patients as my younger self if they are younger than me. And if they are older than me, I'm like, hey, like how can I support you in whatever way that I can?
I love that.
Yeah. How
Awesome.
about you?
Oh, I agree. I feel like that's like the biggest thing that my mission really is to change the narrative in women's health and fertility. And I think that's really one of the biggest things that we can do is like we're living in this modern world that is a lot for our systems and for our fertility and overall health. And so being proactive and really checking in, and it's never going to be perfection. Like we're not looking for like perfect health or perfect diet, but
Of
like
course.
doing those things to support ourselves early on and
Absolutely.
get the feedback of what's going on in our body so that we can prevent. I think we have so much power to prevent all sorts of illness that can come up later in life or
Yeah.
fertility issues. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. So
Yeah.
thanks for being part of my team.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, thanks so much.